Okay, what we got is we are basically almost ready to load this thing up on the trailer and take it to Moab, Utah to finish it out. And we have done extensive work to this car. The last and final thing that we're going to do over here at SWR&C right here in Dallas, D.I.Y. Auto School, thank you very much, is we're going to go ahead and replace this quarter panel, but we can't just patch it. Alright, this is a full quarter panel replacement. That means we're coming all the way up here to replace this quarter panel. Now, if you notice in my voice, I've actually really calmed down a lot over this situation, and the reason is because 95% of everything on this car is done. There's really no room to bitch and complain anymore. Because now we're actually on the downhill slide. I got some rust on this door that I got to fix, and then we got this quarter panel we got to replace. Inside here we got to patch up this rocker on both ends where that's supposed to be repaired, and you know, miscellaneous little stuff. I got some repairs on the tail light panel, the rear tail light panel, but other than that, we're done. So what I did is I went ahead and hung the door. Now, when I put this fender on here, I didn't put it on with the door on, so I got to take the fender loose and adjust that, but we got the gap over here where we want it. Now, the situation we're running into, and even though this is a factory quarter panel that we are going to replace on this, I'm really debating whether to remove the inside of the door jamb. And what I'm talking about is this section right here, because when I shut that door, I mean, it lines up perfect and everything is accurately perfect. Now, a lot of people would usually take the quarter panel that they got, and when they say full quarter panel, they're going to replace the whole thing. But in this situation, I'm wondering if it might be better to cut it along this edge right here along this edge. I'm going to go ahead and mark that. You're probably not going to be able to see it. But I'm thinking about cutting it right here at this edge, about a 1/4 inch out that way, and then leaving this piece in here. Because we know from the factory that this is going to line up perfect. Alright? And the reason that it gets me to that situation is because of all the problems and issues I've had replacing aftermarket quarter panels. And if we look at this quarter panel here, you can basically see this is an N.O.S. Mercedes quarter panel. Here's the old N.O.S. sticker right there from Germany. And like I said, this actually has the striker post on it. And I think I'm going to go ahead and replace that. I'm going to go ahead and just replace the whole thing and just be done with it. I'm hoping and praying that this thing lines up perfect and everything will be a-okay.
Welcome to D.I.Y. Automotive School with my friend Pete and Minnie, the body shop girl. It's everything you need to know about cars and more.
So what I do to remove a full quarter panel, before I do anything, I cut the whole center section out. Alright, and when I say that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my plasma cutter or possibly my air chisel, and I'm going to come up here and I'm going to cut this whole center out of the quarter panel. The whole center section, I'm going to take it out. And what that's going to do, that's going to reveal a lot of hidden spot welds that are on this quarter panel. And we're talking about the back tail panel where it lines up with the quarter panel. And if you look right here in this area, you're pretty much seeing what I'm talking about. This is the tail light panel, of course, it comes around. But then inside here, it's spot welded in here. And then down inside, you can't even see where it's, okay, you can see this lip right here. This is where it's spot welded on. And then of course it rides all the way down this section here, and then this will be leaded in. So by cutting all of the main section out, that's going to give me access to get down inside all the way around to all the edges, find all the spot welds, and precisely remove that quarter panel the way I want. So I already have my plasma cutter here, and I also have the tail light panel. And we found this on eBay. This is an N.O.S. tail light panel designed and made for this car. And we're not going to do anything with this yet because we want to remove the quarter panel. So we're going to set that up against the wall out of the way. And then I have my plasma cutter right here. And what I'm going to do is I'll hook that up, and I'm going to go ahead and start cutting this thing out. Now, more than likely, I'm going to end up taking my air chisel to remove some of it. I don't understand this fucking guy. Every time I turn my camera on, this guy passes by here and he beeps his damn horn at me. What the hell, man? It's like every single time he knows when I got the camera on, and he's gonna beep his horn to piss me off. So we always want to make sure that we got our safety equipment and safety precautions. You can see I got my safety glasses on. I also got my dust mask for fumes, toxic fumes. So we're gonna go ahead and start cutting the meat out of this. And this is basically how I remove rear quarter panels. And the reason is basically what I was telling you earlier, to find all the hidden spot welds and places that could be glued together that we can't see with our naked eye looking at it like this. Okay, so that was glued on there, and if you look right here, you can see here's some of the glue, and that was what was smoking when we were cutting. So we're going to go ahead and replace that door jamb area. I'm going to go ahead and cut it off right here. Okay, so what I did is I went ahead and removed all of the meat, I call it. That's the inner structure of our quarter panel. That's already been removed. And now what it'll do, it'll give me the opportunity to come in here, all right? You see where I'm talking about? I'll know where all the spot welds are. I'll know what to remove. And look at this little thing right here. Okay, here's a brace that's got some foam on it that we'll have to put back on there, but this is a special brace, and that's why I'm telling you, you got to pay attention and you got to know what you're doing when you're doing this. Using the plasma cutter works great, but you know, that saves me a lot of time, a lot of energy, I can go back in here now. I can go ahead and remount my rocker panel back to the inner structure here like it's supposed to be. We'll take our drill, we'll drill this out right here. We're gonna come over here and drill all these spot welds out. We're gonna come down here and drill this out, and we'll just go around all the edge and remove our quarter panel professionally now. But what saved me all the time is by removing that quarter panel, which is this right here, okay? I went ahead and removed that using my plasma cutter, son of a bitch, and my air chisel. All right, we got most of the quarter panel off of the car. I've been using various different tools. I've been using my drill to cut the spot welds out. And then the spot welds that I can't see, which I'm going to show you on the back of this, I've been cutting around that because I got to remove this corner section. This is our quarter panel that meets up with our taillight panel in this area. So the reason I cut that off is because I got to come back over here and on the back side of this, and I got to figure out how I can pop this off of here. And that's the real situation, the whole deal, is taking these quarter panels off like this, piece by piece. So I've basically been working on this for approximately 2.5 hours. We folded this piece of the quarter panel back, and we found out that this trunk extension panel right here is rotted, and we're going to have to make that. We'll make that from scratch using our 18 gauge sheet metal before we put the quarter panel back on. You can see where it spot welds up here, and this is where it ties in right here. And the reason you can tell is you can see the brazing of the item right there. So inside here is basically the last of removing this quarter panel, and you can see how it comes up here, it goes around here, and then ties in right there. And once we get this section out of the car, then we're ready to start fabbing it up and prepping it up to put the new quarter panel on. I went ahead and removed the striker plate. We can see that right here. Very simple and easy. And we also came across up here, we took these welds out. We'll clean this up really nice before we put that back together. And we got ourselves some panel bond. We're going to be using panel bond on that section in here. Remember that section that glues right here? Yeah, we're going to have to clean all that up. So it's a really, really big mess when doing these old classic quarter panels. But when you have an N.O.S. quarter panel such as this, let me tell you, that makes it 100% nicer and just gives you the ability to really do it the proper way. Well, what we're doing now is, now that we have the quarter panel off the car, we literally had to make this. This is our trunk liner extension, or trunk floor extension. We're not putting that on yet. We had some rust right here in the corner of this floor. Then when we got to the taillight panel, we had a rotted, rusted corner there, but we're not going to replace this whole taillight panel because to replace this whole taillight panel is very, very extreme. So what we're going to do is we are going to take the factory taillight panel and we will use sections of that to repair the situation. So if we look at this corner right here, I've already marked it out and you can't see it. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this out so we can go ahead and use it on our car. Now I'm going to cut this out here. We're going to bring it over here, down and around. So it's going to be this whole section here. Once we get that cut out, then what I'll do is I will trim it to fit. I'm going to go ahead and use my plasma cutter to do that with. Okay, so what we did is we went ahead and cut our section out, and then now what we got to do is we got to line everything up. Now, our main lineup point is going to be these two holes right here, and where those are going to line up is right here where the bumper bolts on. So you can see that we made it a lot bigger than we need be, and you can kind of see what's going on. I got to get all this in line and get it trimmed out. So the next thing I'm going to do, now that I got that calculated and figured out, I'm going to go ahead and fine tune and meticulously get this lined up where it's supposed to go by using my cutoff wheel and also my air. Where are we at here? There we go. There you go, right there, my air saw. You can see that I cut it the opposite way that I wanted to cut it, and now I'm going to have to make a little patch for that to fit in there to weld that in. But at least we got our lineup points where they need to be, and this is another important situation right here to make sure that that lines up where the muffler goes. We got the back tail light corner installed on our Mercedes, and you can kind of see where I spliced it all in. Now, we bought an N.O.S, new old stock, and here it is right here. Alright, we bought the whole tail light panel, but to replace this whole tail light panel is very, very extreme, and it's not the easiest job. So what I like to do, especially when I have an N.O.S panel, is I only replace what needs to be replaced. And the only thing that was bad on this was this corner here. And then of course I got to repeat my process over on this corner right here. So you can kind of see what's going on. Another thing, I don't know if you noticed, but you can see how the quarter panel actually lays on top of the tail light panel, and it all becomes one panel. So yeah, to replace this whole thing without replacing any quarter panels is a real chore, and we already know that. Let's go over the situation we have. You saw where I took the quarter panel off the car. Now I already have all this prepped up ready for the new quarter panel to go on, but I want to show you, this is the piece that we had to make, and you can see this is the quarter panel itself, and then this is our trunk floor extension on that side. And what I did, I went ahead and fabbed up a new trunk floor extension, and then I've test fitted my quarter panel on there several times to make sure that it's a nice snug fit, so the quarter panel actually wraps around all this just like it's supposed to. And then we will rust prevent all this before we put our quarter panel on. And I went ahead and trimmed everything up. I had to trim all this out, and I'm not going to remove this right here because this is actually the spot welds that hold our hinge in place, and I don't want to upset that. So we will go ahead and either put that right on top there and weld it in, and then grind it all down so it's a nice smooth finish, which will be fine, or I will cut around the quarter panel to fit in there so I can butt weld it. And then all this that I cut right here, this is for butt welding. We're not going to flange weld it. This will be a butt weld situation. And then I've cleaned this up where our spot welds need to be. We got spot welds up here, around here, and in here. And then on this right here and this area right here, what I'll do is I will use some panel bond. Okay, I'm going to put some down here, but I'm still going to spot weld it just like the factory did here. And I will use panel bonding right here, and then also right here in this area. And then this section right here, we'll put panel bond on that to glue it on there. And then we'll probably go ahead and put just a little bit of panel bond down this, even though I'm going to spot weld all that back in place. So let me go ahead and get my quarter panel prepped up to install. I got to drill all the holes for the spot welds. I've already test fitted on there several times to make sure everything fits and what I had to trim down to make it fit. And then once we get that done, me and Minnie the body shop girl will install that, and I'll show you how nice it fits, and then I'll go ahead and weld it on. Well, remember I was telling everybody about panel bond out there? Well, this car had some type of glue back from the 70s. It wasn't panel bond. This is panel bond right here. But what we're going to do is we are going to put the panel bond in the spots where it was actually glued on. We're not going to panel bond this whole panel. All right. And I'm going to show you what we're talking about. Now, when you use panel bond, you have to have this. This is $100 for this thing right here. And without this, you ain't going to be able to do it. So that's where they screw you right there. The good thing about it though is every single, now here's some self-sealing, that's self-leveling, this is self-leveling sealer for gutters. And then here's our expandable foam. So you see that all of the 3M products that we're using, they all fit in this one gun. It's just getting this gun is the main situation. Now this is a two-part type of epoxy glue, and you can kind of look at this as epoxy primer, am I right? Anytime you hear the word epoxy, that means that it is a glue. All right. Anytime that you use any type of glue, and it requires a hardener such as this, it is an epoxy base type product. So this is a two-part glue that we're going to use, and we're almost to the point of no return on this, and that'll fit right in there just like that. So once we put our glue on there, and you can see on the tube how it mixes up. It's a self-mixing tube. So once I put my glue on here, then we will go ahead and proceed to spot weld it. Now I've already drilled out all my spot weld holes. And you can see right here, even on the gutter area. And I pre-fit this probably what, 10 times?
At least.
So we're ready to go. Let's go ahead and get our glue on here. We're going to put some glue right here. If you remember from the beginning, this was glued right here. So we're going to go ahead and glue that back down. Then we're going to put some glue right here. And I'm putting a big amount here, so. And then right here. On this brace that we won't be able to weld. So even on the older cars, it's good to use panel bond with your welding. Let's go ahead and get this installed, and then once we install it, we're going to look at it. I'm going to show you how nice an OEM factory piece fits versus aftermarket. All right, you ready? We can't slide it, so be careful.
I'm just going to hold it and do all the...
Oh. So, okay, just hold your end. Let me pop it on here. There it is. Okay, hang on now. Actually, that went in the easiest so far all the way. All right, we got the quarter panel on the car. And remember, right here is where we had to put our glue. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to clean this area out because we want that to look nice and neat. So what I'll do now is I'll come back, and I got to weld all the way around it just like factory. And then we're going to be done with it, hopefully. All right, that panel bond's really going to do the trick for us. So you can see how nice this quarter panel fit. Now I did notch this out right here. I didn't want to release these spot welds because this hinge is actually welded there, so I went ahead and notched it out. We'll get that cleaned up. I got my spot welds cut out right here where this goes, so that's good. And then I'll line that up and I'll spot weld that. Over here, we're going to spot weld it on the inside. If you can bring the camera, you can kind of see that right there where my hand is. And then down here, we are going to pull all this together and then we will weld that up. But I got everything already on. This fits really, really nice under here. I like the way that fits on the panel that I made down here. So when I get my pliers, I'll squeeze all that together and that will pull the quarter panel tight, just like we want it. And then the door opening came out really nice as well. And I very rarely ever use these, but being an N.O.S. piece, it worked out perfect. So I guess that's about it. I'm ready to start welding and get this thing done and down the line. What I'm doing right here, I'm just kind of cleaning that glue out of there. I'm gonna make that look factory original, nice and neat. So Minnie can get her wipe on and then smooth all that out in there. I'd appreciate it. All right, what we just saw is basically putting that quarter panel on, N.O.S. quarter panel at that. We had to use a 4-door rocker panel, so lining that up was a little tricky. We still got some work to do there, but other than that, everything looks good. The door came out nice. All right, got a nice gap going. And all the body lines line up perfect. That's the main thing. You can see right here, everything lines up. And I think we're gonna be okay. This is Pete, working on Nightmare and trying to get her done. I gotta get welding.
I think Nightmare has turned into a dream.
Not yet.
A dream.
The only way it's gonna be a dream is when it's finally out of here. I gotta get to work.
Thanks for watching D.I.Y. Automotive School. Classes don't stop till you know everything.